sequences, base pair sequences. And when if, once you read, considering the same orientation, the same sequence is observed. That means if I start reading from 5 prime end, then for one strand, the same orientation for the same strand, 5 prime end for the another strand also. So the same bases are observed in the sequence. So that is what called as palindromes. Very important, and they are very important in the DNA, recombinant DNA technology. Now we'll look for the next, that is cloning vector. So the second requirement biological tool is cloning vectors. Now what is vector? Now very simple example I'll give you, you will come to know. You know that how the malaria is caused. What is the vector or the vehicle or the causative insect, or you can say what is the way which, or you can say carrier, because of which this malaria is observed? Anybody can unmute yourself and tell me, so that we'll go ahead. So what is the carrier? I will not tell you, you should tell me. Unmute yourself and tell me. Anybody?
Mosquito.
Correct.
Female
The
mosquito.
same way now here, you have to remember that cloning vectors are nothing but the carriers. So what they carry, that is different thing. And that now we have to remember. So vectors are nothing but the carriers. They are vehicles. They are also called as vehicles. But what they carry, what they are carrying is DNA segment. And which type of DNA segment and all that in detail we will study. But just remember, vectors are nothing but the carriers, or they are vehicles. So vectors are DNA molecules that carry a foreign DNA segment and replicate inside the host cell. See, this is a very important characteristic feature of vectors. They just don't carry, but what is one more thing they have? It's their specific capacity that they are able to replicate inside the host cell. So they are carrying the foreign DNA segment. This is the first thing. They are able for, or they are capable for carrying the DNA segment, and along with that, what can they do is they can replicate on their own. They can show self replication. And you know the replication means what? This word we are used for the DNA. For DNA we use the word replication, that means formation of exact copies of itself. So they can replicate inside the host cell. This is one more important thing in case of vectors you have to remember. Now what are these vectors? Vectors may be plasmids, bacteriophages like M3, lambda virus, then cosmids, then phagmids, BAC, that means bacterial artificial chromosome, YAC, yeah, that means yeast artificial chromosome, then transposons, baculoviruses, mammalian artificial chromosomes called as MAX, etc., etc. But you need not to remember all this, but just you should know that these are all used as vectors. Because most commonly used vectors are plasmids and bacteriophages. Now we'll come to those 2 points along with its structure immediately after this. So plasmids and bacteriophages are most commonly used vectors. Now we'll see in detail the structure of plasmids and then bacteriophages. Plasmids. Now what are plasmids? First of all, this term was introduced by Lederberg in 1952. And what are the plasmids? These are small, extra chromosomal, double-stranded. Just wait, huh? Okay, so what are these? These are nothing but extra chromosomal, double-stranded structures, and they have their own capacity of replication. Okay, so they are nothing but extra chromosomal material. Now if you see the structure of bacterial cell or any bacterial cell, then you can identify, or you can remember what exactly it contains, its own structure, right? It contains its own structure. Excuse me students, there is some problem with this my settings. So this is what you can see this one. Just within a minute, I will find it out how to overcome this problem. We'll try. So just remember, these are small extra chromosomal double-stranded circular forms of DNA that replicate autonomously. Just now I explained characters of vectors. Same characters are present in plasmids also. But plasmids are small in size, and they are also extra. Why extra chromosomal? Because if where they are present, and once you come to know where they are present generally in the bacterial cell, yeast cell, etc. Means these bacterial cells have its own genetic material, its own chromosome. But along with that, these plasmids are present in the bacterial cells, some of the bacterial cells, and these are small extra chromosomal, means they are extra chromosomal. Along with the main genetic material, they are also present, and they are double stranded circular forms. If you remember the structure of prokaryotic genetic material, they are also circular but double stranded structure of DNA, and which can replicate autonomously. Try to understand, replicate means they can show replication. Autonomous means self replication they can show, and the term was first of all introduced by R. Leidenberg. Now this is the structure of plasmid, where you can some few more points you can remember in case of plasmid, that is they are found in bacterial, yeast cells, and occasionally in plants and animal cells. Generally they are present in the bacterial cells, yeast cells, and sometimes they are present in plant and animal cells also, but their number is very rarely in specific plant cells and animal cells they are found. Then they are transferable genetic elements, or they are also called as replicons. Why transferable? Because they are able to transfer the genetic material from one cell to the another cell, because they are having this capacity to replicate on in its host cell. That's why. Then what is the size of the plasmid? Generally the size varies from 1 to 1000 kilo base pairs. Now this is very easy to for you to remember. This kbp you use in case of your where generally in your mobile these things and all, you can remember that it's all IT students might be knowing also, and so all of you might be knowing that size, how it is kilo base pairs. So here we are using the word, instead of bytes where you use the words bytes, here you will be using the word base pairs. Here, as you know the structure of DNA and RNA, what are all these? These are the pairings of bases, nucleotides. So these are the size you can remember in this way, 1 to 1000 kilo base pairs. Then they are related to metabolic activity. So metabolic activity is also related to whether which type of plasmid is present or absent, which type is present, etc. Then it allows bacteria to reproduce under unfavorable conditions. So this is one more characteristic feature of plasmid. So whether the condition is favorable or unfavorable, though it is unfavorable condition, bacteria can reproduce in presence of plasmid. So this is one more specific feature. Now, just like last time we studied the nomenclature of enzymes, right? So here plasmids also are named. So how they are named? See, first of all, P is represented for plasmid, but not in the higher but lower case is used. Then first letters of researcher's name or place where it is or where it was discovered. These two letters or one letter is used. Okay. First letter or letters, either the name of the researchers or the place where it is discovered or where it was discovered. So in that way it comes. And numerical numbers are given by workers, means those who first of all designated or designed this or discovered this, they give the series, generally that number comes. Now here is the example. Plasmid, for example, plasmid PBr322. Okay, so what it represents? PBr322, P lower case, that means it is plasmid. B and R, that is the name of the scientist first of all who designated this plasmid, that means Bolivar and Rodriguez. That is the name of the scientist, these two scientists of PBr 322. That is the name of the series order given to that particular plasmid. Now one more example we'll discuss. So what is the example? The another example is PUC19. See, PUC19 means what? Here you can see P for plasmid, U and C that represents University of California, and the 19 is the series of the experiment given by the scientists. So this is what called as plasmid, represent as PUC19. Got it? So this is what nomenclature of plasmid you should know. Now, along with plasmids, a type of plasmid is one more type of plasmid that is called as cosmid. It's nothing but the plasmid only. Only little difference is what it has a specific sequence. So that is called as cos site. And so the plasmids with cos sequence, they are called as cosmids. And one more specific feature of this cosmid is that they are little bit larger in size. Their number of base pairs is more than the plasmids, so that they can accommodate long DNA fragments, which plasmids can't. Because the length of the plasmid or the size of the plasmid is small, they can accommodate the foreign DNA of a particular size only. But here, cosmids, they are larger than that normal plasmid, so that they can accommodate the long DNA fragments also. So this is just one more type of vector. Now, this is another type of vector called as bacteriophage. Now, these bacteriophages, they are nothing but a virus that infects bacteria, then it is called as bacteriophage, right? Their virulent portion is deleted when it is used. So this is the structure I can show you here. You can see the head and the tail region. Okay, I'll just show. This is the head, which is made up of protein coat. Okay, and at the center, the DNA structure, that is what called DNA structure means genetic material is either in the form of DNA or RNA. Okay, and this is the tail, and you can this is the sheath, and you can see this is the base plate with this leg-like structures foldings. This is called as tail. Okay, so head, which is a protein coat, and inside it genetic material is in the form of either RNA or DNA. So this genetic material might be single-stranded RNA or double-stranded RNA or single-stranded DNA or double-stranded DNA as per the requirement availability, and for that particular experiment they are considered and used, and as per the type of species they are different. So this is what another type of vector. So two vectors we discussed. One is plasmid and the second is bacteriophage. So for a single gene, plasmids are used, and large pieces of DNA, bacteriophages are. Means if the fragment of DNA is larger, which is to be introduced, that if that, then in that case bacteriophages are preferred. Now, one more thing you need to remember, that plasmids as vectors, there are specific type of plasmids present in plant cell, and these plants plasmids are also having a very important role in the agriculture especially. So we'll discuss about these plant vectors, plasmids, and then we'll come to the next requirement, that is biological tool. An important vector for carrying new DNA into many types of plants is a plasmid that is found in Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Now see, you can remember the word agrobacterium. Agro is what related to agriculture. Bacterium. This bacterium is useful or used in agriculture. Tumefaciens, that also little word is there, tume, that is related to tumor. So that this bacterium is having some specific feature related to the tumor. What is that? I will explain in the next part. This bacterium lives in the soil and causes a plant disease called crown gall. Gall is nothing but that is what? Which is the characterized by the presence of overgrowths or tumors in the plant. Now, if this bacterium is infected to the plant, what it causes? It causes the plant, that particular part of the plant body, it shows excessive growth, which gives the appearance of a gall or a tumor. Even it gives the appearance of crown. So this is also called as crown gall disease. Okay, so a bacterium, that means Agrobacterium tumefaciens, that it contains a plasmid called Ti plasmid. T, that means tumor, I means inducing. That means this A tumefaciens, that means Agrobacterium tumefaciens, it contains a plasmid called Ti plasmid, that means tumor inducing plasmid. And this tumor-inducing plasmid contains a transposon called tDNA, which inserts copies of itself into the chromosomes of infected plant cell. If this bacterium is infected, which is showing the presence of this plasmid, that is Ti plasmid, automatically what will happen? It will insert the copies of itself into the chromosomes of the infected plant cell. That plant cell itself will start showing its growth. Copies of what? Chromosomes. The copies of this plasmid. That means this bacterium. So that what will happen? The overgrowth of that particular plant will be observed. Now I will show you in the next slide the example of this agrobacterium tumefaciens, so that you will also come to know what is that tumor, what is that gall producing structure or crown gall, and why this is called as crown gall disease. Now the third criteria in the same slide it is mentioned, so that's why I'll give you the third biological tool is component host cell. So first is enzymes, different types of enzymes we discuss. The second is what? Vectors, which carry the DNA segment or the gene of interest. And the third is what? Component host, means in which that vector can be introduced and we can get many copies. So that is what component cell, that is called as component host. So this is the cloning organism that is used, generally used, usually they are bacteria like Bacillus Haemophilus and E. coli, that means Escherichia coli. Mostly E. coli is used for the transformation with recombinant DNA. So these three biological tools you remember: first enzyme, second vectors, and the third host cell, or that is also called as cloning organism. And what are the cloning organisms here used? Generally E. coli or Bacillus Haemophilus. What are the commonly used vectors? Plasmids and bacteriophagous. Enzymes, endonucleases and ligase and phosphatase. There are many more enzymes are used. So these each and every point you remember as biological tools is very important. Now I will show you this diagram or the structure. See, this is in the diagram you can see this is the Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Okay, this is the uh, when it infects to the plant cell. What happens here? This is the tDNA region shown here from this plasmid. When it infects the plant cell, then it injects its own plant cell genetic organism. It gets infected with that and it produces its own copies. The number is increased. And if you see this diagram here, this is the plant where this tumor like growth, this is the excess of growth, or this is called as tumor. This is also called as gall means is nothing but the excess of growth, which gives the appearance of crown also. So this is called as crown gall disease. The plants which are infected with A tumefaciens, that means tumor inducing plasmid is present in the bacteria, which gives the excessive growth to the plant, and that results into the formation of tumor, right? So it is nothing but a soil bacterium. It's gram-negative bacterium. It causes crown gall tumors in dicotyledonous plants. tDNA, that means this plasmid is having the tDNA region, that means gall producing gene, which occurs in Ti plasmid, which is used as vector for higher plants. And many genetically modified plants are produced using A tumefaciens. Now, what are the examples? In the next part, we will discuss what are the examples. This is the structure of Ti plasmid, where you can see this border is shown here. This is the region called as tDNA region, which shows the presence of gene or gene which is present in this region responsible for inducing the overgrowth. Okay, so this is what called as tDNA region. Okay, then see this diagram shows all different types of vectors, that means plasmids, cosmids. Plasmids example also given, cosmid, the plasmid along with coside. Then artificial DNA, it might be yak or mac, or yak is what? Yeast artificial, or bac, that means bacterial artificial chromosome. And this is the one more vector, that is bacteriophage. That is the diagram also shown, bacteriophage diagram. So these are the different types of vectors used as biological tools in our DNA technology. Now we come to the actual methodology of our DNA technology. That means what are the steps involved in this rDNA technology? R word represents the recombinant. The word also you split the word recombinant. Combinant, what represents it? that is the combination. Re is again, that means what it is combining, it is combining the gene of interest, and wherever it is required, that is inserted. So this is very simple. Okay, now we'll discuss all. I'll just give a look on these steps, and step by step explanation I will give you. Isolating vector and target gene. So first step is what? Isolation. In isolation, what are the things to be isolated? First is what? Target gene. Target gene means desired gene, means gene of interest. For example, I want the gene which is responsible for the production of insulin. So this is what the gene of interest, right? So from where it is isolated, that from that particular uh, organism, the human being, human body, which is having that gene uh, responsible for the insulin production. So that is what target gene. Okay, and vector is what? Vector means where we have to insert this gene of interest, and so isolation of target gene as well as isolation of vector, both the things are important. So isolation is the first step. Second step is what? Cutting. Means we have isolated that gene, that means what? That DNA from the body or from the donor, but we don't know which gene exactly is responsible for the result. Means a long fragment or a long DNA is isolated as the genetic material, but I don't know on which part of the DNA that gene is present. So what is done? So that long DNA which is isolated should be cut in pieces, small pieces. This is what called as cleavage. Then the third is what? Ligation or joining. That means what? Once this screening is done, that target gene, it should be inserted, joined to the vector, and then transforming. Transforming, that vector is inserted in a specific cloning cell organism, and then cloning is done, and then selection. Now all these are just steps. Now I will show you again this type of structure where you can remember all the steps again, so that this is the revision of all the steps, and then again I will explain each step. So first step is what? Isolating genomic DNA where the gene of interest is present. Then fragments of this DNA, means the DNA is fragmented into small pieces, fragments of DNA made in with the help of restriction enzymes, endonuclease enzymes. The screening is done. Why screening? Screening is required because we don't know which fragment contains, DNA fragment contains the gene. So it is to be screened. And once it is screened, once it is known which DNA fragment is showing the gene of interest, then that DNA fragment is inserted in the DNA in insertion of the DNA in vector. Now introducing this vector, that vector is now called as recombinant DNA or recombinant vector. Okay, also because that plasmid is nothing but that is extra chromosomal material, and now we have inserted the gene of interest. So that is what? Recombinant vector. Now recombinant DNA that is inserted in the host, and generally fast growing cells are considered, they are used. So introducing it rDNA into the host, and then culturing of these cells, and then transformation of the host cell. So these are the steps. Now again, step by step, we'll see basic steps involved in the process. First, isolating genomic DNA from the donor. So from the donor, suppose I say that insulin is the gene which I want to isolate, or the product I want, its insulin production I want in more quantity. Suppose I am just telling, there are many more examples. So isolating that genomic DNA from donor. These are the vials shown where this material is isolated, is taken. The material which is isolated from the DNA, that means donor, is taken, right? Then this, at the same time, the vector also is isolated from the bacterial cell, plasmid, suppose plasmid. Then next is cutting. That means what? Fragmentation. Fragmentation of DNA using molecular cells. Now this picture purposely I have shown here. Cutting means what? What we use for cutting? This is what? Scissors, right? What are these scissors? What is the role of scissors? Is what? To cut, right? But here, the picture which is shown, it doesn't, we can't do like this. They are very small molecular level work it is, isn't it? Just to understand. So cutting is done with the help of scissors. So what are the scissors here used? The scissors, these molecular scissors are, or these are also called as chemical scissors or biochemical scissors. They are nothing but restriction endonuclease enzymes. So different types of restriction endonuclease enzymes are there. So fragmentation of this DNA is done with the help of the molecular scissors like restriction endonuclease enzymes. Now once the fragmentation means the long DNA segment or the DNA molecule is cut into small fragments. Now once this cutting is done, was screening of the fragments, that means which fragment of DNA carries the gene of interest, that is checked. So screening the fragments for desired gene. This is the next step. Then the next step is what? Once this gene of interest, we come to know that gene, that fragment of DNA carrying that desired gene is to be inserted in the plasmid. See, this is the plasmid and this is the gene of interest. Now it is inserted, and how it looks now? This is the plasmid and this is the gene of interest. The cut is given to the plasmid. These are the single stranded structures with sticky ends, right? These are the sticky ends. So exactly this gene of interest can fit in the region where the plasmid is also given a cut with the help of restriction endonuclease enzymes. So it can fit here, and this plasmid is now called as recombinant DNA, because combination of two different things is there, that is the gene of interest, the DNA fragment with the gene of interest is inserted in the plasmid, and this is what called as recombinant DNA. Now the next step is what? Introducing the recombinant vector into a component host cell. Now, as I told you, host cells, generally bacterial cells which grow fast, they are considered E. coli. One more example, I just told you, mentioned you. So such type of bacteria which can grow fast, so such type of host cells are considered, and so this rDNA recombinant vector is introduced into the component host cell like this. This is the cell, host cell, and now this we can introduce the plasmid in the host cell. Now this next step is what? Once this cell is having its own DNA, its own genetic material, and along with that plasmid is also inserted. Vector is also, recombinant vector is also inserted. Now this is grown in the culture medium. These are the artificial nutrient medium. These are the glasswares used, petri plates where the nutrient medium is there as per the requirement. This nutrient medium, it contains growth factors and everything. So the cells are grown on the culture medium, nutrient medium, and so that these host cells grow faster. And once the culture is made in a sufficient amount quantity, then transformation of the host cell using these copies of transferable transform suitable host cells so as to express the desired gene. So using these copies to transform suitable host cells so as to express the desired gene. Wherever it is required, then it is introduced. Once the copies are ready, where the gene of interest is present in each cell, then that can be inserted in the host cell where it is required. Okay, so these are the steps involved in the rDNA technology. That means what? Recombinant DNA technology. Now this is one more chart which shows, which is given in your textbook itself, that see here, you can see the host, the DNA is removed from the host, and donor, just like donor, if insulin, one of the human being, if you consider as the DNA, then fragmentation by restriction endonuclease, the same steps which I explained, they are shown in this flow chart. Okay, so the DNA from the host as well as donor DNA, fragmentation by restriction endonuclease, then DNA strands with sticky ends, as I showed now in the picture, then sticky ends base pair with complementary sticky ends, then DNA ligase links them to form rDNA, that is recombinant DNA. Now the next enzyme which we were discussed, not only the nucleases, exon endonucleases or restriction endonucleases, but along with that ligase is the enzyme which its role is what? To ligase means to join. So it connects, it joins the gene of interest, that means that DNA fragment, to the plasmid. Okay, so to form rDNA. Now this is then many copies are produced. It is introduced in the host cell and many copies are produced. That means it is cloned. In vitro, how it is done, how it takes place in vitro, and how it takes place in vivo. In vitro means, vitreous means glass. So by using means artificially, polymerase chain reaction is a process which where we can make many copies. That is the artificial way. That is called as in vitro technique. And in vivo means within the vivum. That means the living fluid. That is what that is related to the word vivus. That is vivum. That is the living fluid. That means what? Nothing but the living organism. So prokaryotic or eukaryotic organism or mammalian tissue culture cells. It is introduced. So within the cell, that means in vivo, and within in the vitreous, that means glass, then that is called as in vitro. So in this way, they are cloned. That means many copies are produced. So this is the flow chart where you can remember these steps in this way. Either step by step, how I explained two ways, or this you can remember. Whatever you feel that you can consider. Now, this is the example, that is production of insulin, where here the pancreatic cells, which shows the presence of insulin producing cells. It shows the presence of insulin producing cells. These are, as I was telling you the example. Then what is done? Strand of DNA from insulin producing cell. This is the DNA strand from the insulin producing cell. Then insulin gene is cut out of DNA. That means screening is done. Fragmentation is done by restriction endonuclease enzyme. This means this DNA is made into small pieces, cuts, and then it is screened. And once you know that this is the fragment which shows the presence of a gene responsible for the production of insulin. So this is insulin gene is spliced into plasmids. That means it is introduced into the plasmid. The same way, at the same time, what is done? This is the bacterial cell. It has its own genetic material, and along with that, the plasmids are present. So this plasmid is removed from the bacterial cell. So this plasmid, that is the ring of DNA from bacterium, that is the plasmid. Again, here also as restriction endonuclease enzymes are used to give the cut, which has the sticky ends here. And this plasmid is cut open, and this gene of interest is, that means the gene responsible for the production of insulin, is introduced in the plasmid. Now this is called as rDNA. That means what? rDNA means what? Sorry, again, this. Wait a minute. rDNA means what? Recombinant DNA. So this is recombinant vector. So hybrid plasmid, now this is called as. Now what is done? This hybrid plasmid is put back into the bacterium. See here in this cell, you can see these are the two. One of this is removed, where the gene of interest, that insulin production gene, is inserted, and again it is introduced in that cell. Or you can introduce in the another bacterial cell also, where it so this is what, again this is the cell with the plasmid having the gene of interest called insulin, and this bacterium now can make the copies of human insulin. Okay, so many more copies of human insulin are produced. Okay, now the next example I will take a little problem is there with this, so that it will happen. Wait a minute. So I will adjust it. Now, this is what the example of gene of interest considered as insulin, and here you can see in the picture that many copies you can see, that is the gene responsible for the production of insulin can be produced. Now in the next, we can discuss the applications of this recombinant DNA technology. So what is this? Applications, when we come to this point of application, there are many more applications. But whatever are discussed in the textbook, that we will prefer along with few more applications. Okay. Applications first, analog of G. I think there is some problem. I will stop here and will revise a little instead of because there is some problem with the this thing. Okay, I will stop my presentation also, and I will stop the recording also. By the time, uh, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. We will discuss. We will revise also.